my name is Andy Stark. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at EasyRx in Genmar. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar series. Today we'll be covering the integration between EasyRx and VisualDLP. The integration created a single platform for practices and labs to share information, create prescriptions using the EasyRx platform, submit those along with any files that are attached directly to VisualDLP, our lab management product. So today I'm going to walk through that workflow and show the integration, show some of the setup, and if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat channel, and we'll get those answered before we wrap up today. So I'm on the order list in VisualDLP, and you can see that there are several orders in here, the different statuses: invoiced, ordered, in production. When a case comes in from EasyRx that goes into the ordered state, and that means that it's been submitted and needs to be reviewed and scheduled. So I'm going to start the whole process by looking at EasyRx, which is the practice-facing universal prescription platform. So here we see we're logged in as, we are logged in as Micanopy Smile Fixer. And I have a dashboard here that shows me cases that are checked in, completed, shipped, and then received back in the practice. So these are really helpful for getting a snapshot of where the cases are in those four states: checked in, completed, shipped, and received. So we'll start by creating a new prescription. So we click Create RX, and New Lab is the lab that we're working with. New Lab invited us to be to submit cases to them, and I'll show that when we move over to VisualDLP. But the first step is to enter the patient information. Now, if they're integrated with their lab or their practice management software, that information could be filled out for them when they launch the link. And there are several practice management systems that EasyRx integrates with. On the website, we'll have those listed out. So we'll put a patient name of Mike Smith in, the date that we need this case back. Let's say it's the 16th. Now, the doctor, the office, and the ship to information are automatically populated based on information that's when the practice accepts the invitation that was sent to them by the lab. That information gets created, gets automatically filled in. There are a couple other fields they can provide, who took the scan or the impression, and who physically is submitting this. So we'll click Create, and now we have a blank canvas to work from. And on the left-hand side, there's a search, or I can drill into the tree here. So if I go to restorative, I see the restorative products and parts that are available. I can also search. So if I'm looking for a full contour zirconia crown, I see that there. I can drag that onto the tooth chart here. And if I were doing more than one, I could simply drag another one over. So, mute my phone. There we go. So I have two crowns here on number 2 and 3, or I'm sorry, 3 and 4. And I can click on that and go in and add some information such as the shade, stump shade, and any margin or pontic characteristics I want to add. So those go into the part options screen here. Next, I can add some comments. I can type these manually in. I can just create a comment, or I can go to my Easy Comments. I can just create the practice can create a list of stored comments that they want to use, and those get submitted along with the prescription. And finally, this is a digital case. There are several ways to get the files attached. If they're an iTero user, they can simply enter the iTero order number in, validate that, and that will attach the iTero scans to this case. They can send the plaster models or impressions in. And if they do that, they would want to print out the prescription itself to submit with that impression, which will have a barcode on it that represents the prescription number. And that can be looked up in the lab. So we'll look at that in just a moment. Or you can use the digital model attached to the script. So I'm going to go that route. And from here, I'm going to select a couple of scans I have already made, lower jaw and upper implant scan. And those get attached to the prescription. And so now we're going to sign and submit that. So now what it's doing is it's gathering this information together, and it's transmitting it to the lab. So in VisualDLP, you'll notice the prescription ID is here, 171-47437. So we'll just copy that for a moment here. And there's a little GenMar icon next to it that tells us this has been sent to a GenMar VisualDLP lab, in this case, a new lab. So let's flip over to VisualDLP now. And here we are on our order list. I'm going to search for that prescription number. Usually it takes about 10 to 15 seconds at the most for that to all route and show up in the lab. So if I search for this order number, we find it, and it will open up for us here. So we see the account is Micanopy Smile Fixers. The patient is Mike Smith, the due date. And we've got the 2 zirconia crowns on 3 and 4. And so in the notes, you'll be, the note that came over from EasyRx is here. Call me if there are any questions. That was the easy comment that was added by the practice. You also have the shade information that was attached on number 3. And then the files that came with this case are also here. And so I have the option to download these files. I can click this link here, and it'll actually open those STL files up in EasyRx 3D. So we can see the scans that were made and attached. Here's the first one. And if we come back over here and look at the upper implant scan, there's the second one. Okay. So we've got the scans, we've got the files. I'm sorry, we have the files, we have the notes. If we have any questions, we can add a note here. Maybe there's a question about the scan. So I can create a note and require it to be sent back to EasyRx for the practice, and also require an approval on it. So I'll save that note. If we come back over to EasyRx now, once that saves, and I will refresh the screen here, you'll notice that we have an icon that tells us there's a notification on this case. I can see that from the dashboard as well. So if they log back in after they receive their email, they'll see there's been a notification on this prescription. So if I click that to view it, I see there's a case notification, and there's our message that we sent from VisualDLP. Please call about the upper scan. So here they can then answer this, Dr. Nye, maybe tried to call, whatever the note, whatever the response is, or maybe you proposed a solution and you want them to accept or deny, or approve or deny that. So if they approve that, that will then submit that back over to VisualDLP, and that gives you that back and forth communication, and it tracks that all in the lab management, in the case, in the lab management system. So let's say now we've resolved that issue, we're ready to go ahead and schedule this. We'll choose the workflow. So I've got my workflow available to my zirconia crowns. We'll save that. And we'll put this into production by scheduling this order. So the lab can configure these workflows. We have some suggestions. We have some templates you can start with. We can provide those during onboarding. But you'll see for demo purposes, we have a simple step 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have the dates that those steps are going to be completed. If I look at the history on this case, we can see that this order 119 was created from EasyRx prescription number 1747437. We changed the workflow to my workflow. We scheduled it. Now, scheduling has the effect of updating EasyRx and letting the lab know that it's been received. So if I refresh this screen, you'll see it was submitted and checked in at the lab on July 2nd. The only other two statuses they can see are that a case has been completed and it's been shipped. And if you don't want to share that information that it was completed, we are contemplating adding an option to be able to turn that off. So that would be triggered. It would show as completed when you actually ship it rather than when you invoice it. So that's one of the things we're considering right now, based on some feedback we've gotten. All right, so now this case has been submitted. It's in production. Let's say we come through now, and as I mentioned, there is another touch point back into EasyRx that when you invoice this order, when it comes through production, comes back up for billing, we invoice the order. Case is now invoiced for $200. Refresh on this side, and you're going to see that it's been marked as complete. And then finally, when we ship it, mark the order as shipped. That will update on the EasyRx side that the case has now been shipped. Now we do have an integration with UPS that is going through testing right now, and once that's certified, we'll be able to take the tracking number, store it with the case, and send the tracking number back to the lab or to the practice as well. Okay, so that's the workflow from EasyRx to VisualDLP, and then exchanging information between VisualDLP and EasyRx. So let's talk about a couple of the setup requirements. First, you need to have a EasyRx connected lab account. So you need to register, and you can sign up directly from VisualDLP and global settings. There is a link under the EasyRx integration tab to sign up or to log in if you already have your login. So once you're logged in, you've authenticated, and VisualDLP is now acting on your behalf with EasyRx. When you go to accounts, and let's take Jones Dentistry, for instance, you'll notice there's an EasyRx account tab. From here, I can send an invitation to invite this account to set up their EasyRx account. And there's no charge for the lab or for the practice to do so. So when you send the invite, first you choose who the account owner is. In this case, there are 2 doctors that practice in this account or come out that work with this account. So you would choose who it might be. So let's say it's Kim Jones. Then we're going to choose the email address, the phone number, and the address that will be associated with this EasyRx account. And you can put multiple email addresses in the account, but you will only choose one for the system to recognize as the unique identifier for this account or EasyRx practice. Same way with phone number and address. And then in step 3, you can review the message that's going to be sent to them. We will send them an invitation, tells them that they can use EasyRx to create and submit RXs, attach files, track cases, communicate and collaborate with the lab personnel on those cases. They'll receive a password and a link. There's also a place for them to schedule onboarding. So we do provide free training to your practices who want to engage with you with EasyRx. So there's not an additional load on you to teach them how to use it. It'll be part of the onboarding process. They'll get I think 45 minutes of training on how to use EasyRx to submit cases. And you, as well as the lab, will also receive training how to set up EasyRx, how to set up parts and products that you want to make available to your doctors. In a minute, I'll show you how those products map back into your lab management system. So the invitation is sent out, they'll receive an email, and then you can come back and see the status of these invitations. So if you come back to Gainesville Dental, for instance, go to the EasyRx, I can see it's pending still. So they haven't accepted that invitation, I can resend it. If I go to, I think, let's try Ocala Dental here. It's also pending. So it will show that it's been accepted once, well, you know, Micanopy Smile Fixers has been accepted. So we come back in, so you can see it's green, accepted. So this practice has not only accepted it, but it's been mapped back to your account here from Micanopy Smile Fixers. So when you invoice that case, it will show up in your AR and on your sales. So that's mapping accounts to your practices that use EasyRx. The next step is to think about your products. So if we come in here, we see this is our product list that you use to build and bill cases. Let's take the Essex retainer, for instance. There's a new tab here called EasyRx Mapping. Click there. Tells me no EasyRx products exist. So I'll come in and search the library. And I'll just choose, type Essex. So here, this list is coming directly from the parts and products in EasyRx that have been set up. And you can then map those to the product that you want this to be mapped to in VisualDLP. Okay. So really straightforward, requires you to create a connected EasyRx account, lab account, requires you to then set up the mapping between your accounts and the EasyRx practices, or invite them to that, and then set up your products. And after that, your practices will then be able to submit RXs that will show up with no data entry in VisualDLP, and you can then communicate files back and forth, communications, and invoices eventually. We do have plans to make invoices and bill statements available in EasyRx for your practices to download. They will also be able to pay their invoices through the EasyRx VisualDLP integration. In addition to receiving the statements via email. That's a feature that's going to be coming out in the next month or so. So it doesn't look like there are any questions. So next steps, if you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to reach out to our sales team, sign up for a demo if you want to have some specific questions you'd like answered. But we're excited to launch this integration this month. And one other thing I want to talk about, a feature that's going to be released in the coming weeks, we have now a way to create bridges in EasyRx. So let me log in again. So the bridge creator is a new feature that lets your practices easily build a multi-unit bridge. So let's come in here and create this, and we'll go through this. So there's a new icon here called Create Bridge, and it looks like a little bridge. So when you click that, you go into what's called Create Bridge mode. And I can click on the teeth here and just specify how many units are going to be in this bridge. So right now we have a 4-unit bridge. If I search for the crown material, we'll say it's made out of a zirconia crown. And here I can then indicate which teeth that zirconia crown is going to be present on in this bridge. And I can also add additional attributes. So if we can just specify a pontic here. We can come in and just drop that over the top of one of the existing teeth. And we can see that now we have a 4-unit bridge made out of zirconia, and there's a pontic on one of those. And when this is submitted, it will also submit to VisualDLP, and you will be able to then review the prescription and choose the appropriate product that you want to add on the invoicing. So excited to release this. It will be going into testing very shortly, but it will be available as soon as it's gone through that testing regimen. So that wraps up the demo today. I want to appreciate everyone who is watching this, whether live or remote. If you have any questions, reach out to our sales team. Always standing by to do another demo if you want to do a deeper dive into any of these things we've shown today. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Enjoy your long weekend, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.